The truth about what happened at God Valley is covered under a heap of propaganda. Sengoku stood there in chapter 957, he looked at the Marines dead in the eyes, and he spun the most sanitized version of events that you could imagine. Roger and Garp, who were natural enemies who've been trying to capture or kill each other for decades, suddenly become best buddies, taking down the evil pirate Rox. How did anyone believe this? We're a couple chapters into the God Valley incident flashback, and so far nobody's motivations are really lining up with the official narrative of the world government. Rox isn't there to conquer anything. The man literally was trying to save his wife and infant son from a genocidal game where the celestial dragons and the world government are hunting people for sport. Rox's hometown, his people and his family are being used as target practice, while Roger is there to save Shaki, who's been turned into the grand prize of the hunting competition. And when it comes to Garp, he ends up becoming one of the biggest jokes in all of this. This is the guy who famously hates celestial dragons, who had refused every admiral promotion specifically to avoid serving them directly. How on earth did Garp become a hero by protecting the celestial dragons from their murder festival? The native hunting competition is the entire reason why everyone is there at God Valley. The world government rounded up 100,000 civilians as rabbits. This includes individuals from the Davy clan who they have been exterminating for centuries. Garling already murdered the island's king for protesting, and it's pretty much ethnic cleansing as entertainment that's being broadcasted live to Merijo. Let's believe for a second that Roger teams up with Garp to defend this atrocity. This is the same Roger who protected slaves at Shabondi and treated everyone as equals regardless of race or status. So it makes no sense that Roger would team up with Garp in order to take down Rox, and the more that Oda reveals about the younger Roger, the more obvious that it becomes that this whole rivalry with Rox is manufactured. Roger acts like Luffy, he's impulsive, he's loyal to his friends, and he throws hands over personal slights, but he's fundamentally kind-hearted. Why on earth would such a character prioritize beating up Rox over saving innocent lives from the native hunting competition? Rox and Roger are not Blackbeard and Luffy. There is no real ideological opposition between the two characters. Rox and Roger are more like Kid and Luffy. Sure, they trash talk each other and they're in direct competition, but there is still an element of underlying respect. Fans have even suggested theories that Rox had tried to recruit Roger. Roger's crew came to God Valley to save Shaki, not for any glory or to defeat Rox. This is similar to what Luffy would have done. I mean, he did the same in order to save Robin. It was a single-minded focus that Roger had in order to save a friend. So why would Roger suddenly pivot to actually beating up Rox, deeming that to be more important than his rescue mission? The Davy clan are Rox's ancestral people, and they're being hunted to extinction. Then you have the Roger pirates and Rox pirates who don't really have any animosity towards each other. Then you come to Garp's role in God Valley. He didn't really even want to be there. When Kong called him, when he found out Rox was there, Garp's response was basically, "It's not my problem." You know what changed his mind? It was Roger. The second he heard Roger was heading there, suddenly Garp became interested. Garp wasn't there to save the day. He wasn't trying to stop a world-ending threat from Rox. He wasn't there to protect civilians. I mean, look at Dragon. His son was literally having a moral crisis, watching the Marines enable genocide while his dad was doing nothing about it. Garp was there for one reason, which was to chase Roger. Again, this is just what Garp does. The team-up is actually world government fanfiction. It was invented after the fact. People have theorized that Garp and Roger probably beat the hell out of each other with everything burning around them. Garp ignores the actual atrocities to focus on his pet rivalry. The government saw an opportunity. They claim Garp defeated Rox, who appears to have been actually killed by someone else entirely. They then make Garp a hero and bury what had actually happened. Garp never talks about God Valley. You think the defining moment of his career would come up occasionally, but he shuts down any mention of it. It seems like he is definitely ashamed of what had happened during the God Valley incident. Deep down he knows he didn't really do anything heroic that day. This now brings us to Rox having met IMU in the Room of Flowers 18 years before God Valley. This suggests that there's a bit of a personal war between these two characters. Rox clearly knows the truth, and he knows the Shadow Tyrant who is behind all of this. He didn't just stumble into Merijo, he infiltrated the most secure location in the world and he killed an admiral, kidnapped 5 kings, and he made it all the way to Imu's secret garden. Then he looked at the god of the One Piece world in the eye and he basically said, "I'll be back to finish this." Since then, Imu has had 18 years to come up with a plan to deal with Rox. It does appear as though IMU has orchestrated this entire situation to turn Rox's homeland into a killing field, using his family as bait and forcing him to fight on their terms. God Valley wasn't picked randomly for the native hunting competition. It was chosen because Rox's wife and son were hidden there, because the Davy clan refugees were sheltering there, and because IMU knew Rox would have to come. Everything about God Valley has IMU's fingerprints on it. The systematic elimination of the Davy bloodline, the way that the island completely vanished afterwards, similar to what happened to Leluzia 38 years later, and the fact that everyone who was there acts traumatized rather than triumphant over the God Valley incident. The presence of Gunko at God Valley also isn't a coincidence. She's been IMU's personal attendant for 6 decades. When things start to get out of hand, when the pirates start overwhelming the God's Knights, when it looks like the Celestial Dragons may actually lose, that's when IMU steps in. Let's now talk about the demonic aura within every Rox flashback panel. Now this isn't an artistic choice, I think this is foreshadowing. The supernatural darkness surrounding him, the way even his memories seem to be corrupted, Oda is telling us that something happened to him beyond just normal defeat. At Elbaph right now, we're watching IMU use Domi Reversi to turn giants into demons, forcing them to attack their own friends and family. Now imagine that power is being used on Rox, the strongest pirate of his era, driven by rage and grief over his family's persecution, then IMU taking control over his free will and turning him into his own personal weapon. This would explain why Roger and Garp would have to work together. Not Rox the man, but Rox the demon, who has been corrupted and controlled, turned into something that threatens everyone on God Valley. The irony is that the man who dedicated his life to overthrowing the false god dies as the puppet of IMU. If this did in fact happen, then you can understand the impact that it would have had on the surrounding characters. Roger would have gone from a carefree adventurer to a man who's obsessed with finding the truth, because he would have first-hand seen what the real enemy could do. Then you have Garp's eternal silence, which makes sense now. How do you explain that you had to kill a man who was fighting for what was right, and then had his free will taken away from him? The victory that everyone celebrates and calls Garp a hero for was actually Garp committing a mercy killing on Rox. It seems like history is repeating itself, as what had happened on God Valley is happening now on Elbaph. IMU's possessing Gunko, the giants are being turned into demons, and history's about to rhyme in the worst way possible, except this time Luffy knows who the real enemy is. It's a identical pattern. We have a kingdom that won't submit to the world government, systematic elimination of threats, and IMU is taking direct action when these standard forces have failed. The difference is that this generation learned from the last one's failures. Dragon's revolution exists because of God Valley. We're also learning more information about the role that Dragon had played in saving Shamrock and Shanks, as this was a dying request from their mother. So it seems like every major player within One Piece was shaped by what had happened on God Valley. A lot of people theorize that Roger found out something during the God Valley incident which had set him on a path towards his final journey of finding the One Piece. Roger learned the importance of the secrets of the Void Century, the Will of D, and the ancient weapons. IMU's desperate attempts of suppression, eliminating threats, and rewriting history is breaking. God Valley was supposed to be another successful cover-up like the Void Century, but instead it's ended up becoming the catalyst for their downfall. Every survivor from that incident has carried a piece of the truth moving forward, and now all of these pieces are coming together. Luffy doesn't know it yet, but he's about to fight the same battle that his predecessors had lost. There are definitely key pieces of information that are missing from the full story of the God Valley incident. Thankfully, with each chapter we're getting new details about the flashback, and we're learning more critical information about what had happened during this defining moment within the history of One Piece. But we have now reached the point of the video where I want to hand over the discussion to all of you. What do you guys think about the lies of the God Valley incident? What do you think about the proposed theory that IMU could arrive at God Valley and thus uses Domi Reversi to take over Rox, thus forcing Roger and Garp to work together to battle Rox? I personally love the idea of Rox and Roger facing off against IMU at God Valley. I really am hoping that there is some truth to some of these theories, but for now, if there's anything that I've forgotten to mention about the God Valley incident and this theory in particular, then let me know by continuing the discussion in the comments. And lastly, thanks for making it to the end of this one, and I cannot wait to see you in my next video.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.